Hello, everybody, and welcome to another monthly movie roundup, where we go through our letterbox and look at some movies that we watched during last month and talk about them. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, my co-host Tavi. Hello, Tavi.
Hey, Dan.
So we're going to be talking about movies that we watched in the month of May 2022. This is, for those of you unfamiliar with this show, usually we talk about Asian cinema, but for this particular show, we open the floor up to any movie. Old, new, Asian, Western, other, any movie is up for grabs here as long as we watched it last month. Let me see what you've been watching. You watched Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance twice? Is that right?
Yeah,
am I reading that right?
No, I watched it twice, man.
On the 12th and the 13th of May? Okay. You like that film, eh?
This is, you'll see Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and The Northman, but what slots in between that is Bling Empire Season 2.
I see. I see what's going on there. So this is like a rinsing of the mouth situation.
Yeah, man. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is a really good fucking movie. Like, underrated in Park Chan-wook's, repertoire. I watched it ages ago for the first time, and I liked it. But I was like, yeah, Old Boy's better. So, I didn't really pay much attention to it. But I think after, gaining a bit more, knowledge of movies and whatnot, it's really a different film. It's kind of confusing because people didn't really like it that much when it first came out. This is pre-Old Boy, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of this movie is super violent, and it's just stylistic for no reason. But when you if you rewatch it again, it's a pretty subtle movie with surprisingly not that much violence, but high impact violence when it happens.
Why do you think Old Boy was successful where this film was not so much?
I think Old Boy is more cathartic. There's definitely a much more impactful ending, which I'm not going to give away if people haven't seen Old Boy because it's a masterpiece. But yeah, when you see Odesu, fighting a hallway full of thugs and ripping out that guy's tooth, they've screwed him over, so you feel good.
Yeah.
It's quite dynamic. But with Mr. Vengeance, it's basically the two leads. They're kind of both the good guy and the bad guy, and when they kind of get vengeance upon each other and the people surrounding them, you're seeing them hurt good people, and it's you feel that it's wrong, but it's justifiable, but it's not justifiable. It's it's a pretty complex movie, the feeling that you get, But it's got all the signature Park Chan-wook stuff, really good cinematography,
extreme violence,
very stylish, pretty violent. It is definitely violent for sure. But there's not a massive fight scene. It's a bit more grounded than some of his other films. You can see there's a lot more lighter moments. But yeah, no, give it a rewatch. It's pretty good. Have you got any particular standouts that you want to talk about from your list, or maybe some stinkers that you want to talk about? Because there's another one that I want to bring up maybe a little bit later.
I guess I watched a couple of movies with featuring Danny Trejo. Just revisiting a couple of those films because it was his birthday this month. So I was
oh, really?
Yeah, I felt like watching a couple of his films.
Was that Desperado?
Desperado and Predators. I watched.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They're not films really recently. Starring him. They're just films with him in it that I happen to like. Yeah,
he's not in Predators very much, is he?
Is not. It's almost a cameo, right?
Yeah.
And probably Desperado is almost a cameo as well. I don't
think you're in a bit of a heroic Bloodshed mood.
Yeah, man, heroic Bloodshed is something that we got to bring back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
those two movies, Desperado, Better Tomorrow, and others, they're just so much fun to watch. And I don't know if that's just because we are nostalgic for that type of cinema, or whether they are like they still remain fun to watch for like modern cinema viewers, you know?
Yeah, that's a good. Like, we're definitely a little bit nostalgic for it.
The
But,
closest
like,
thing that we can get now is something like a John Wick, right?
yeah, John Wick. Yeah,
Which is
I
like,
think
it's not the same style.
it's not as over the top. Like, it's
It's not
John
as
Wick's
cheesy.
a little bit. Yeah, yeah. I do miss that cheesy like bullet diving.
But is there a
Jumping, yeah.
place for it in modern cinema, do you think?
Not really. Maybe
really.
people don't really like that kind of action anymore, unless it's John Wick.
But like there's so many
yeah.
things capitalizing on nostalgia, like going on in cinema now,
That's true.
that, you know, like you could probably do, even if it's just an homage to that type of cinema, but like nobody's really trying to do it.
Yeah, I think because these movies are pretty violent, so when you are banking on nostalgia, I think there's also a demographic. Like, they want to reach all demographics as far and wide as they can. And like, guys getting shot like 20 times and falling through glass windows and falling off a building is probably a bit too much.
Is it though?
For-
Because the same kind of stuff goes on in John Wick.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
a
true.
whole bunch of headshotting going on in John Wick.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's probably, people probably don't like the cheesiness.
I think it is a style
yeah.
issue, right? Like
Yeah,
the whole
because it's like the homoerotic style.
yeah,
of it
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sometimes
It's
as
all
well.
there, like the slow motion of it as well. Like the fact that their guns never run out of bullets, you know, and like Desperado, like that scene in the bar is just so fun to watch, but it's also like so outrageously stylish at the same time.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's also, there's a level of like not taking itself very seriously either, which like it's that's not really the case in John Wick, where like John Wick does take itself seriously, I think.
Yeah,
You know, like it.
yeah, to a point.
I think the enjoyment people derive out of it a lot is like the realism of the gunplay. Like you can see him reloading and stuff, and that's kind of fun to watch. Whereas in these films, like it's just about them like blasting away at people
Yeah.
and just like endless amount of goons coming out only to get riddled with like that scene in
Yeah,
Better
yeah,
Tomorrow
yeah.
too, where they got like infiltrate the mansion. It's just so many like goons.
Yeah, that's one of the best scenes of cinema.
It just astounds me that nobody's really tried to make that type of film in a long time. I think
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez should get on it. If anyone, because he doesn't really care about making money, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah,
He makes films for the fun of making films
yeah.
still.
He's good at low budget filmmaking.
Yeah.
I think that's like that's his thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Bring back El Mariachi.
yeah, yeah.
It's time for a reboot or a sequel or whatever. Just, yeah. What else have you been watching?
If there are a couple of films that I would recommend you to watch that I saw this month, I definitely check out Family Romance LLC. Mm-hmm. It's a very like low budget film. It's actually done by Werner Herzog. He's been in the game for a while. Really popular for making like documentaries and stuff.
Can you do a Werner Herzog impersonation?
Nah. I was gonna try to do it.
If we
but then I
could,
was just like, yeah.
if we could, we'd do it, and you'd instantly know who it is. But we can't. He's got a very recognizable voice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
He's the guy. He's I don't know. He's the bad guy in the first Jack Reacher movie.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he
I didn't even know that.
he plays someone, an alien in Rick and Morty that wants to take Jerry's penis as a replacement for his own heart.
Yeah, that
Right?
guy. But he's definitely got the spiel. Like, I think there's one where he's in like the Amazon or something, and he's like,
the harmony of overwhelming and collective murder. And we, in comparison to the articulate vileness and baseness and obscenity of all this jungle, we, in comparison to that enormous articulation, we only sound and look like badly pronounced and half-finished sentences out of a stupid suburban novel, a cheap novel.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, Family Romance is about like this Japanese guy who owns a company that hires out actors to play roles for people in their lives. So most of the story follows like this Japanese teenager and him, and he's playing her father. So they kind of like, you know, go to like cherry blossom festivals and like arcades and stuff, and like they kind of start to blur the line between like whether, you know, she's actually thinks she's his father. The way the movie's shot, it looks like it's a documentary because it's very like, it looks very guerrilla. Like a lot of the shots are very shaky, and a lot of the lighting is like blown out and stuff. But it's honestly a really good movie. The ending it's interesting. I liked how it ended, but I can see how it might have irked some people because it's quite strange. But yeah, no, give that a watch. That's on Mubi.
Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I always watch this movie with Risky, The Innocents, which is a Norwegian movie. And basically, it's like kind of like this supernatural drama about these kids that have like, I guess, telepathic powers. I was going to say superpowers, but it's not really.
Okay.
But like, you know, giving kids such powers and stuff kind of brings out their dark side a bit more.
Is it a Brightburn situation?
I was going to say it's a much more subtle version of Brightburn, which I haven't seen, but Innocence is very downplayed. There are some very like distressing scenes, like, but it's not overly violent either. But it's a really well shot movie. Like it looks really good, and like the special effects are quite minimal, but they look very realistic. I wouldn't call it a superhero movie. I'd put it more in line with like the magical realism aspect. It's like you kind of give human characters like slightly supernatural abilities or you know, something like that.
Is
but
it like
it's still a very human story.
Like Chronicle? Have you seen Chronicle?
Yeah. It's less actiony than Chronicle. It's a slow movie.
Sure.
Pretty good movie.
So it's not like blockbustery. It's more like ruminative.
Yeah, definitely like subdued. Yeah.
Yeah.
Senior year. You've given it 1 star. I don't know why you watched this movie.
Do you not know why?
Do you think it's just not made for us though? Like, it's obvious you and I are never gonna enjoy a movie like Senior Year, right?
The plot line is not overly dissimilar to Billy Madison, and I enjoy Billy Madison. You know, like the plot is a person who goes back to school even though they are too old for school. That's the plot, basically.
Yeah.
Which is Billy Madison, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the same film. And
it's just not good.
It's not good. And I don't think Billy Madison's good. I don't think you could call it a good film, right?
Yeah, I think we're a bit nostalgic for it as well.
That's
probably.
the thing. So like, I don't know, maybe people of a younger generation might enjoy this film. There are definitely elements in it that are trying to appeal to a younger generation. Is
there a lot of like talks about Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah. There's a whole like social media thing going on. Because it is set in a high school. It is set in a high school in America, like in this time period. So like there are high school kids in it doing stuff that high school kids can relate to, I imagine.
Yeah, like going on MySpace, right?
Sure. Yeah, but like, I don't know. I honestly can't think of anything in this film that would appeal to anyone. Because I watched it with my partner, and she does enjoy this kind of film. Like films along the same line as like I don't know, Suddenly 30, or even like, what's that Drew Barrymore film?
50 First Dates?
No, the one where she goes to school.
Firestarter?
Yes, Firestarter. I think she does go to school in that, right?
She's a kid, so she
Never Been Kissed.
Oh yeah, that movie. Yeah, I was way off.
You know, like that. But even that is a different era than this film. I think. I don't know, like, maybe it's the casting, I think.
Yeah, why? Because I think I've seen movies like this and have enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Like, I like Mean Girls.
Sure, yeah,
think
Mean
that's a good
Girls is
movie.
not dissimilar.
But, like, why... Like, I haven't seen this movie. I might have to add to the top worst list, but... like, why do you think this movie sucks so much? Like,
I don't want to put the blame entirely on Rebel Wilson, but
but it's Rebel Wilson.
I think they could have found someone better for this kind of film. Like a lot of the comedy that lands is not Rebel Wilson's riffing, because she didn't write this film.
Nah.
But she does. You can see a lot of her comedy in this film. Like a lot of her kind of awkward humor.
Yeah, I don't really know much about her style of comedy, but
she's
I
kind
can
of
probably
like
see where you're coming from. Yeah,
her comedy is kind of like she's an awkward weirdo.
Yeah. I guess.
But
I get that.
in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
film, she plays a cheerleader, like a really popular cheerleader that gets amnesia. No, she goes into a coma and then wakes up. So she still thinks she's a really popular cheerleader, but she's trying to become popular again in this world that has changed so much from when she was in high school. Yeah, like the things that she that made her popular in high school does not have the same effect in modern high schools. Yeah, there's like PC culture. She's battling against PC culture. She's battling against like the Instagram culture, trying to get used to all that and using, you know, like kind of reevaluating her tactics to become popular again. But like when I think of Rebel Wilson, I think of an awkward weirdo. And I guess like they're trying to like bring that into the story, but at the same time, she's also playing like the popular kid. So like it doesn't quite land and like doesn't really mesh together. And like she's definitely one of the weaker aspects of this film,
which is not good for your lead.
Yeah, I actually think the supporting characters do a fairly decent job at like making this work, even though it doesn't really work. But like the good parts of this film are because of the supporting cast. But there's so much focus put on Rebel Wilson's character. Because, you know, she's the main character.
Yeah, she's the protagonist.
And because she is like the weakest part of the film, like it brings the whole film down as a whole. Judging by reviews, I don't think it has resonated with anybody.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a watch someday. Man, do you have any?
Should we finish with talking about something that we both watched, which was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah. Why not? Let's talk about this movie. This movie's okay. That's all I can say. I like the Raimi stuff. I didn't like the Marvel stuff.
Sure, and that's a predictable response from you. I had the same response. I think this film would have been better as either a Marvel film or a Raimi film, but the two styles do not coexist well with each other, I think.
Yeah.
Like you can really see a clear distinction between the Raimi elements and the MCU elements, and like I don't think that's good for a movie. in general is when there's such a disconnect between the two styles. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, have you seen Thor Ragnarok?
I have seen Thor Ragnarok, and I like Thor Ragnarok.
I think that's a case of where like the director's style and the studio's style mesh quite well together and create this film that is cohesive and like well put together. But in the case of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it's almost like the two styles are battling against each other for agency, you know? Like Raimi kind of wants a film that's like horror.
Yeah, like...
But you kind of feel Marvel Studios kind of being like, just calm down, man. Just bring the horror down.
Well, they,
you know, we want the kids' money as well, you know?
They did like extensive reshoots for this movie.
They did, but...
Because it was supposed to be Scott Derrickson, who was initially tied to it, who's a
he directed the
horror
first
movie director. Oh, did he do the first one? I didn't know that, yeah. Well, I think Derrickson wanted to make it more horror-based, but then I think the studio, as you said, was like, nah, man, we want the kids' money too. And then Derrickson was just like, then I'm out. Sam Raimi probably presented a version of it that was probably too Raimi, and then like Marvel was like, nah, man, we want the kids' money. Do it again. And yeah, it's just like I have to give credit. Like a lot of the Raimi stuff was really entertaining. Like
it's still there. There's a lot of Raimi in this film,
and it's pretty violent for a Marvel film. Which there's a lot of some of the deaths I didn't expect.
I don't know if you'd call it violent or just ghoulish. Like there's a lot of that kind of Raimi style ghoulish horror, like like zombies and like souls like escaping and stuff. And there's like a lot of crash zooms and
people burning to death.
Sure. So I mean, it's fun. Those things were fun, but yeah, it's just like. It's almost like watching two different movies trying to coexist, and it's not quite working out.
I mean, we'd already seen a much better multiverse movie this year, so we knew this was not going to be the level of that because they're not going to go that crazy because it's a Marvel film.
Yeah,
so,
there's not that much multiverse stuff in. this film,
they don't really do that much.
Which is like maybe that's a marketing issue. You know, because I don't think it necessarily needs to have all of the crazy multiverse stuff in it. I think it could have just worked as like its own story.
I think they were relying too much on characters that we know. Like a lot of when I went to see it, a lot of people, that's that guy and that's that person.
Should we just do a spoiler warning for this movie and then just talk about it?
Nah, everyone's seen this movie already. Oh yeah, I mean there's a spoiler warning now.
Yeah.
Okay,
spoilers for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, a movie that we both find to be okay at. There's a scene involving the Illuminati, right? This is what you're talking about, yeah? It has people like Professor Xavier, played by Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
Yes. It's got an alternate version of Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau's version. It's got Captain Carter, which I had previously seen in the What If series, but it's an alternate version of Captain America where Carter got the serum instead of Steve Rogers. And it has Black Bolt, one of the members of the Inhumans, which, they had previously done this character in a TV series called Inhumans, which is apparently extremely bad. But they got the same actor to reprise his role as
and then
Black
to immediately be killed off
as Blackguard, Boltagard, or whatever his name is. But
actually,
I think
in regards to his death, and to not turn this into a long Marvel discussion, because I feel like there's plenty of people that you can listen to that talk
people
about
that
Marvel
know more
shit.
about Marvel shit than us. But go on.
But one of my big criticisms for this movie is power level. Like Scarlet Witch seems like she can just do whatever she wants
until she can't.
until she can't. Yeah, basically, because like the way she kills is it Blackguard?
Black Bolt.
Yeah, the screaming guy. I'm sure people know what we're talking about.
The guy with the tuning fork on his head.
So like, she just stops his mouth like Matrix Keanu Reeves style. Yeah, and then his head explodes. Well, the back head explodes in the most PG way possible.
Sure.
But like, how does she do that? Like, is she controlling his mind? Because I was having a chat with my friend about this. I watched it with, and he's like, yeah, she can control his mind and stuff. But like, what we're seeing is what he thinks is happening, but so his mouth is actually not closed.
No, that happened.
So,
I think she can alter reality. I think is the thing. But then sometimes she can't.
Why wouldn't she just like alter it? Like, that's a big thing about movie world building with fantasy stuff.
Yeah,
is you have to establish rules.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Scarlet Witch as a character as well, because like she's got lots of comic book interpretations, I guess. But like her thing is chaos magic, which is in itself a vague concept.
It's chaos. Yeah, I'm just chaotic. So that's why. Because I was just like, why would she just like make all of them explode?
Yeah, even in that one scene, she fucking she makes his mouth disappear, so it blares out the back of his head, and then she spaghettifies Mr. Fantastic. But then she decides to have like a fist fight with the other two. It doesn't really.
It's obviously because it looks cool. That's it. That's all.
At the end of the day, it's just contrivance, right? Like,
I don't know. I just feel a lot of this movie is just what I have issues with. Just like overuse of CGI, and just like there is visually interesting stuff, but it's not shown in a very visually interesting way at times.
What are you talking about?
It's just like when they're in the actual multiverse of area where there's all this flying shit around, and they're talking to each other. It's just medium close up, blurred background, and they're just like exposition, and that's it. But I mean, that's kind of really all I have to say about this movie.
Well, I just want to say, on the subject of Mr. Fantastic,
Reed Richards,
John Krasinski. So, do you know like the whole thing of like people really want this guy to play Mr. Fantastic?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
It's like a fan.
So that must be why people were so excited in the theater, because oh my god, it's a fan casting thing.
People have been like rallying for this thing to happen, for a long time, and I think my main irk with this film is like they cast John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic so that they get a reaction from the audience members that wanted to see this happen.
Yeah.
But like it is only for that reaction, because this is a really pivotal character, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's the only one I recognized from them. Yeah.
And he is in this film, he's kind of like just discarded immediately. Like they introduce him and it's like, oh my god, it's John Krasinski, and then they kill him off because like maybe because they couldn't afford to keep him around, and like maybe because they don't plan on bringing him into the MCU fold because like he doesn't have any interest in like taking on the character like for a long period of time. They're not doing the character justice. They're just using him to get a very short-term reaction from the audience.
Yeah, that makes me dislike that moment even more.
Yeah, it was sacrificing good storytelling for the sake of fan service, which, it's not good.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, I think we've talked enough about.
This is basically a fucking Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'll cut it down. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about from your main viewing?
No, to keep it short, I've got a plan for. There are some movies, but I got plans for some of them that I want to talk about.
All right, guys, did you guys watch anything interesting in May? Let us know what you thought about the films that we talked about today. Did you like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? I know we hated on it a bit in this episode, but
we kind of did.
There are things to like about it, I think.
Yeah. the horror stuff is actually pretty good in that movie.
Yeah, let us know, guys. You can get in touch with us at 2asianblokes@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook to be a part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at 2asianblokes to see what we're up to. Oh yeah, follow us on Letterboxd as well. If you want.
That's the whole point of this damn episode. You know.
Yeah.
Follow us on Letterboxd.
Yeah, you can find me at Dan with a H, and you can find Tavi at TaviTomcom.
Which you'll have to put in the link because nobody knows how to spell my name.
Yeah, I'll put it. I'll put a link in the description. All right, guys. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.
See you later, guys. Bye.